This is Leon Trammell, and welcome to the LT Ranch. We started accumulating land for this ranch in 1985 with 180 acres. There was no buildings on any of the property at that time. This is all LT Ranch, and the street we're traveling on is Southwest 40th to Wanda. All the grass green that you see off to the right is part of the LT Ranch. It runs for 1.25 miles on the south side, and it has got beautiful blue stem native grass, this is the last large piece of native blue stem grass on the southwest side. Now, as you see that white post there, at that point we own on both sides of the road. The LT Ranch is on both sides of the road. We go down to the green and offset in the road. Line ends where the green grass starts. The 610 acres of native grass with no buildings on the south side of Southwest 40th Street to Wanda. Here we're looking west, 4 little ponds, all on the 610 acres. Here you're seeing how vast an area of native grass we have on this 610 acres. As we travel southwest across the native grass, there was a lot of buffalo wallows, a lot of areas that showed that the buffalo roamed this ground in the 1800s. This is some of the latest large parcels of native grass like you have in the Flint Hills. This is looking north from that 610 acres to headquarters, which is on the north side of Southwest 40th Street. Here we come down the trail. We're flying west, looking east as we see the native grass and the ponds. We are actually flying back west, so the grass that we see is back east of us. And we've got over 1.25 miles of that stretch of land, which includes 1.25 miles of Indian lots. And Indian lots was a strip of ground 278 feet wide that was set aside for the Trail of Tears. People on the Indian Removal Act of 1800s to move from the east side of the Mississippi River to Oklahoma. They come across northwest Arkansas and southern Missouri into Oklahoma and Kansas. And Kansas provided a strip of land all the way across 278 feet wide. It was called Indian lots, later changed to government lots. Now the strip of ground was 278 feet wide, and it was on the south side of that street that you're looking at, 40th Street. Indians could travel on there and camp on there. I have 1.25 miles, and we will show later where we think those Indians in their transition from removal from east of the Mississippi River to Oklahoma camped during this process. It was commonly known as a Trail of Tears because the first batch they sent out was about 5,000, and many of them starved to death and died en route, and that's why they call it the Trail of Tears. Now you're looking southwest of the property. The housing development that you see on the right, at one time, that ground belonged with this pasture, but it was sold off. Now this is a northeast corner of the LT Ranch on the south side of 40th Street. All that green grass that you see all the way over to the turnpike. This grass is the best of any blue stem native grasses in the Flint Hills, and this is the last large section of it. Presently, we're looking at the extreme southwest corner of the LT Ranch, where there's multiple buffalo wallows. There is one in the picture as you speak, but there's several in the area. The buffaloes love to get on a high area and lay and watch for predators. And as they laid down, they would roll over to get the flies and the bugs off of them. And like a horse would wallow, and when they'd get up, they'd get dust and dirt with them. And if the ground was a little wet, they'd take a lot of mud. So the depressions, those buffalo wallows would fill up with water during the rain, and so water grass would grow in there and choke out the native grass. So that's why they're still easily to spot, especially in that extreme southwest corner of the LT Ranch, just north of 50th Street and east of Santa Fe Lake Road. It lays in the middle of great native prairie grass, which I've described early as big blue stem, little blue stem, and here is more buffalo wallows. This is evidence that this ground has never been plowed. Had this ground been cultivated, the buffalo wallows would be gone. Not in my ownership will this ground ever be changed from the way it was created by the grand architect of the universe. So there's several in that area. One of the many things I enjoy about this south 610 acres, it's unchanged from its original state. However, 2 little meadows had been cultivated. Other than that, the soil that you see here is virgin. It's like the good Lord created it. As we continue our tour of the LT Ranch, we'll now enter the 610 acres south of Southwest 40th Street. Majority of this land is Native American prairie grass. Prairie grass, as I said earlier, never needs fertilizing, only it just needs to be burned off every 2 or 3 years to get rid of the vegetation and give it a chance to grow more. It is some of the best grazing grass in the Midwest. Is called the Flint Hills. A steer will gain 2 pounds a day from April the 15th to October the 15th, which is the standard grazing period. However, there's some been doing some double grazing that reduces that number. But let's just stick with the standard, the old standard, a steer to 4 acres, put him in the 15th of April and take him out before the October the 15th. That's the old standard. Now there have been various changes to that, and all of the changes have their point of success. So but right now we're just going to talk about the old standard, 7 acres for a cow and calf, 4 acres for a steer in the Flint Hills natural grass that consists of big blue stem, little blue stem, switchgrass, Indian grass, and buffalo grass. And as I said, it's a native grass, never needs reseeding, never needs fertilizing. Just burn it off every 2 or 3 years before the 1st of April to get rid of the old vegetation and any new trees that want to sprout up. Ground off the left of the trees is a neighbor's. We are now in the 610 acres of some of the best native grass as they are in the Flint Hills between here and Emporia, Kansas. That strip of grass is about 200 miles long and 100 miles wide. It is some of the best grass in the United States, never needing fertilizer, only burn it off about every couple of years to get rid of the vegetation and the little trees. That's why you don't see any little trees out there. We'll burn this off about every 2 or 3 years to get rid of the little trees and stuff like that. We're traveling southeast across this 610 acres. Now there's a ravine over there that when we get strong rain, water can become rather deep, and so there's a big watershed of water running off a lot of acres coming down through this. This water comes onto this property up on the north side of 40th Street, and it's clear. And if it wants, I've been thinking about making a waterway all the way down here to where we came in and put another big dam there, and I would have clear water. Now we're traveling across the blue stem grass, best native grass anywhere in the world. And we'll see on this journey through, we'll see buffalo wallows. Buffaloes in the 18 and the 60s ran wild here. This area was discovered in about 1860. And so a guy by the name of J.R. Meade, he came into this country in the 1600s and he founded Towanda. Then he sold Towanda and bought Wichita. J.R. Meade took Wichita. Now we're going to see a buffalo wallow up here pretty quick. The buffaloes would lay up on high ground and watch for predators. And as they laid down, they would roll over and get the bugs and the flies off of them. And when they get up, they'd take dirt with them, and especially if it's a little muddy. So there's a lot of buffalo wallows. Now we're crossing over into another section of the 610 acres. As you can see about how vast this ground is, 610 acres. You can get over here and get lost. Even though I've been here since '85, sometimes I get a little confused of where I'm at on this vast plain. This grass is as good a blue stem grass as anywhere in the Flint Hills. And this is the last large piece of prairie grass. We're going up here now, we'll cross over to that side. This is just more traveling along in this vast pasture of native grass. So here we go down along the trails of Badger Creek. Now Badger Creek was a creek that ran from east to west across my ranch. Now in the 1600s, this fish was in this creek because over in Briar Cliff was 3 big springs. When they developed Briar Cliff, they put big ponds underneath those springs, so that stopped the flow of water onto my ranch. However, I have springs on here to keep it going, but it stops flowing, so there's no fish in the river over here now. Now we're driving along, and off to the right is Badger Creek, and that's where the Indians camped on their trail of tears going to Oklahoma. This ride is on the north side. Now this ground that we're here, this meadow, was cultivated, as well as the ground on the other side of Badger Creek was cultivated back in the 1800s. But the rest of this ground over here has never seen a plow. Only these 2 meadows on this side of Badger Creek and over on the other side. Now we're entering the very extreme east side of the LT Ranch. Now this meadow that you see ahead of us, that was probably cultivated in the 1900s. This meadow, and there's another meadow off to the right over here. That was the only part of the 610 acres over here that was cultivated. Other than that, there's only 2 pieces of ground, this one and that one, was cultivated in the early 1900s. But I did not cultivate this. I sowed it to brome grass for a while and would mow grass for hay, but I soon got out of that because of the expense. And actually, I wanted this for a trail ride and to enjoy. Now, bear in mind, we're 25 miles from the very center of Wichita, Kansas. It's unbelievable that anything that is this type of viewing the ground, it can't be duplicated anywhere because it just doesn't exist. Now, the ground off to the right is my neighbor's. It's an old family that's been here for years and years and years. But everything that we're here, as I said, this meadow was probably plowed during the early 1900s. After pasturing it, I've just viewed it as a trail ride and let the barners cut it for hay and plow a little around my house over there, farm about 80 acres over there. But they would cut the grass. Now all this ground to the right is my neighbor's. Mine is all off to the left. This meadow, I believe, was cultivated, as was the other little meadow on the other side of Badger Creek. But that's the only ground, in my opinion, was ever cultivated because of the buffalo wallows. If you had plowed the ground over here, the buffalo wallows would be gone. But on the south side, there were a lot of buffalo wallows over there. Now we're coming out of the meadows and we're going to take a left here and go west along. Badger Creek would be on the north side of Badger Creek. And you can't imagine how many walnut trees are along the Badger Creek. It's just full of walnut trees. And I don't want to cut any trees that I don't have to cut. But I blaze a trail through here to where you can ride a horse and not be ducking limbs. And actually you could drive a Jeep through this. I have a Jeep and I have driven this trail with my Jeep. But I prefer my bad boy buggy, 4-wheel drive, all electric. It makes no noise and it slip up onto the deer and turkeys. You don't see too many turkeys here as you do over on the river, but they're here. And it's just a great trail ride, 25 miles from the very center of Wichita, Kansas, 8 miles from 2 airports that you can land a jet airplane, a Citation jet. I know I keep harping on it, but this is all take place within 25 miles of the center of Wichita, Kansas. Now off to the left, you'll see as we come around, a man-made dam. I have never been able to determine. I would think the WPA perhaps built this dam, but when I started renting this in '85, this grass, and I didn't buy it until about 8 or 10 years ago, this dam had already washed out when I started renting this pasture. And we'll drive down and you'll see the man-made as we take a left turn here. Off to the left, you'll see the man-made dam. And you can see the rocks that are falling apart today off to your left. Now this was a man-made dam. As you come on over, the rocks are on the other side as well. Now as you come here, here was where the dam was, but it washed out before I started renting this place, and I started renting it in '85, and I bought it about 10 years later. This is still the trail on the north side of Badger Creek, which, like I say, in the 1800s was run full of fish. And this is where that's where the Indians camped, because they would not, as you run across here, you're going to see one of the springs that's here on the ranch. Here's the water. We have two of these springs on the ranch, and in the the 1930s, we had three big springs that flowed across Santa Fe Lake Road. They were all on the west side of Santa Fe Lake Road, and this property is on the east side. They had three big springs that flowed 12 months a year until a builder went in. The builder was also, here we're crossing more water. Here's a problem with trees falling down. We have to keep them cleared out, old trees falling. Now we're still on the north side of Badger Creek. Now we'll go up and do a 180. We'll cross Badger Creek on the west edge of the property. And you will probably see that it's dry. It goes dry there during the hot summer months. There's a creek off to the left. But bear in mind, in the 1800s, that ran full the year round and fish was in it. And here's where the Indians, Native Americans, Indians camped because they didn't get big enough to flood these guys out that camped here. Now we're going to come outside and we'll go out. We're still on the north side of Badger Creek. These houses up here, you can see, they're built on the property originally belonging to this land, but the guy sold off several acres up there and a little housing development was created. The LT Ranch is on the south side of it, on the east side of it, and the north side of it. Now we're going to cross Badger Creek at the very west end of the LT Ranch. Now, as you can see, that's rough, and there's a little water running through there, but not much. And it does go dry sometimes because there's no water hardly coming across. Now, we're on the south side of Badger Creek, and again, beautiful native grass. This 610 acres is an amazing, it's got a 1.25 miles of Badger Creek running from east to west. We're now on the south side of Badger Creek, driving east. We will come in and out of, we just crossed a little spring. We'll come out here now. This is where the buffalo wallows were really rampant. Lots, so this ground that you see has never had a plow in it. Not one plow has ever, this is virgin ground. This is just like the grand architect created it. And it's just full of buffalo wallows up off to our right. But we're traveling east and on the south side of Badger Creek and enjoying great trail rides and beautiful native grass. We call it prairie hay. It's switchgrass, Indian grass, big blue stem and little blue stem. Never needing fertilizer, never needing water. All you have to do is about every 2 or 3 years burn it off before the 1st of April. Get rid of the little trees and weeds, and it makes the grass better. Gets rid of the old vegetation. So when the new grass comes up, it's high in protein, and a steer will gain 2 pounds a day of this in the summer. Now here we're still on the south side of Badger Creek, and you're going to see a lot of bluffs and what I would imagine the pioneers and the Indians rode the south side of this Badger Creek for hunting deer and wildlife. Badger Creek is off to our left, native grass is off to our right. And this is, again, I'm repeating myself, it is the last large piece of prairie grass going west from the Flint Hills. The absolute unusual terrain that you are experiencing 25 miles from the very center of Wichita, Kansas. 8 miles from 2 airports that will receive a jet airplane. Now here's where the Indians camped. on either side of this creek. But in the 1800s, live fish in this creek, so that not only did they have fresh fish out of fresh water, but they had the springs. Now over on the north side, over on Whitewater River, they would hunt there, but they didn't camp there. Here they could be up and not get washed out. Now this would get up, bank side, but you were not going to get a half a mile wide. They're safe to camp up here where we're at now. Very safe to camp and not get washed out. And I'm sure there's Indian burial grounds here, but I'm not smart enough to recognize them. But here we're coming back up, down along the creek. But the main thing was I wanted to ride in it. Now here you can see the back of the old dam that washed out. And then this is excellent deer hunting property, as a matter of fact. Now here again, we're coming out of Badger Creek and more beautiful native grass, and here's where all the buffalo wallows are. More buffalo wallows than over on the north side. And I can't explain why they chose the south side to do their wallowing rather than the north side of Badger Creek. But they wanted a high spot where they could watch for predators. And they would lay and wallow in the ground and turn over on their back like a horse did to get the bugs and flies off of them. But so you can see the bluffs along here, bluffs all along. And I know that the Indians would ride there and look down on this for their prey, deer and turkey. It took me years to put this ground together. I don't want to piecemeal it off. It took me years and years and years to put this 800 acres together. Within 8 miles of 2 airports that a jet airplane can land, and 30 miles from a commercial airport where American Airlines, Delta, and other airlines fly in daily to Wichita. Here we're going down. We will be on the north side of Badger Creek, and we make this turn to approach this crossing in the right direction. Here we're crossing the Badger Creek on the extreme. Well, no, first we're going to go the trail, then we'll come back and cross there. But that shows you how much water is coming out of springs on the LT Ranch. Now this meadow was plowed, I'm sure, back in the 1900s. Now this is a meadow on the south side of Badger Creek, and there's another one similar to that on the north side. So I'm sure of this 610 acres that this little meadow and the meadow over on the other side was farmed because there was an old homestead down here that the old house fell in, shortly after I purchased the ground. And the house you could not, it was dry rot. Now this trail rides along the south side of the meadow that I'm sure was cultivated. And you can see an old car there that was abandoned. But up on the hill, there's a silo, a grain silo. Here we're still traveling along on the south side of Badger Creek and the south side of the meadow. Now shortly, we're going to turn down an old roadway and we're going to see deer and off in the distance, but here this one's going down the road. Here we're traveling on the north side of Badger Creek, traveling west. We'll go back up and cross Badger Creek where we saw it momentarily before we entered this part of the trail. Now on the left, up on top of the hill, is beautiful native grass. On the right is Badger Creek, and on the other side of Badger Creek is a meadow similar to this. Now these two areas was plowed during the 1900s, I am sure. Obviously I don't have any proof except they had a silo up on the hill. Well, they tell me they raised corn in here and chopped it up into silage to feed the cows in the winter. Now, as we turn the corner here, we'll make a quick right and we'll go back down to the crossing of Badger Creek from the south side to the north side. And we'll have to do a little dancing around to get lined to cross Badger Creek in a direct way. We're going to go up here and just do a U-turn to come back. I don't want to approach crossing Badger Creek at an angle. I want to go make sure I go across it in a straightforward way, 90 degrees, not at an angle. So here we go. Now we're going straight across. Now let's stop here for just a minute. That's how much water is coming across the LT Ranch from west to east. So as we slowly go across, you'll see how much water is flowing off of the springs on the LT Ranch. And we think there's other springs that could be cleaned out and caused to flow more. Now we have ridden the trail to both north and south side of Badger Creek, which is about a mile and a quarter long from east to west. Now we're going to go back to headquarters. And again, I cannot emphasize the importance of the grass that you're seeing here. I honestly believe the largest area of natives prairie grass west and south of the Flint Hills. And we try not to drive over the same ruts twice. The same area, yes, but if you drive on the same ruts, you're going to kill the grass, and next thing you know, you got a washout, you got little gullies. So never, as you drive through, never drive the same tracks. Just drive over by the side. Make sure you know you're going in the right direction. Now this is absolutely top of the line prairie grass, switchgrass, Indian grass, big blue stem, little blue stem, and buffalo. That's all native grass. You don't have to fertilize it, just burn it off every 2 or 3 years, along about the 1st of April to get rid of this old vegetation and little trees that can come up. So that's why there's no trees. If you didn't mow this or burn it off within a few years, it'd be saturated. Now we're back approaching the main entrance to the LT Ranch headquarters. We're crossing the bridge built in 1905, and I moved it in. It cost me about $25,000 to move this bridge in. And the pipe fence, I got probably several thousand feet of this. This is a pipe from the oil wells. And the main house is on the left. The Black Horse, as you see there, the swimming pool is in front of us. The next house next to the Black Horse is a guest house. And then we have the caretaker's house. This is the end of the trails on the LT Ranch. Founded in 1985, and not one building stood on this property when I bought it.